the number one biggest rule when you go to buy a house is
what?
What you were doing when you were younger. What? Do not go out and buy an informative yet entertaining pod chat about life in the real estate market, life in Philly, life as a mom, and everything in between.
Sure.
Sorry.
You're taking it again.
Well, I mean,
look too close.
It is. Jeez Louise.
All right, ready?
Would you like some coffee?
Sure would.
All right.
This is exactly what I need after the morning that I had. Nothing like a good cup of coffee to make me happy. Cheers.
It's good.
Isn't it good? I drink it every morning. It's my go-to.
Welcome to Elm Street. This is an informative yet entertaining pod chat about life in the real estate market, life as a mom, life in Philly, and all things in between. So on today's episode, we have fellow realtor Monique Perri.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And we're gonna talk about everything with the first-time home buying process, from soup to nuts.
Yep, my favorite topic is education. Love it.
Yes. So before we get into the first-time home buying process, I just want to know, what made you get into real estate?
Yep, so funny story. So in 2019 I got my license, but before that, I kind of never knew what I wanted to do as a career full-time. So I knew I loved business and entrepreneurship. I just never knew what angle, I wanted to go in.
Right.
And then at that time, somebody introduced me to the car business. So my brother actually started working at a car dealership, and then his boss called me and was like, Mel, you're working 5 jobs at once, which I was. I was like a waitress, bartender.
Hustler.
I always had, always a hustler. And he was like, would you want this position? And I was like, I am not a clue about a car. He was like, it doesn't matter. If you come in and you like the car business and the dealership, you have the job. The job is yours. I was like, okay. So I went in, I ended up liking it, took the job. So for the first 5 years before that, I would say 2015, I was in the business development center for cars. So I was the top producing car saleswoman in that department. I used to sell 35 cars a month.
Wow.
So I would take the appointment, the person would come in, and then I would introduce them to a car salesman.
Gotcha.
Like my brother, for example.
Right.
And then he would sit down, sell the car. Then after that, they actually offered me a finance manager position where I would be in charge of selling car warranties. So I just figured, let me try it, right? I was young, didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do still. And at that time, I was in community college of Philly. So I finished 2 years there. After that, the finance department position, I basically was I just don't know if this is for me. I can't imagine sitting behind a desk.
Right?
9 a.m. to 9 at night.
Oh, no.
I used to go home and my parents would talk to me and be like, I literally just need to shut off my brain for a second. I cannot think straight. You're talking to so many people all day.
Right.
So I knew that I didn't want that to be my everyday, career.
Right.
At that point, did you ever watch Grant Cardone or Gary Vee? They're the inspirational, motivational speakers.
No.
So they always used to come up on YouTube and Instagram. And I'd be like, who are these guys? What are they talking about? They have all this money. And all I seen was real estate investment, real estate. So then
That's interesting.
I was like, okay, what can I do where I could still help people? Because I love helping people. Obviously purchase a very expensive, asset to their life. Where I could be more flexible and not work 9 to 9 o'clock at night. I mean, the car business is a tough business.
It's brutal.
So to, do that, I looked into Temple University. I went to the Fox Business School there.
I went to Temple as well.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did the 8-week program or whatever, the 75-hour real estate course.
Oh, so you actually did it in school?
I did. I did it in person. I'm an in-person learner.
That's good. I did it during COVID,
Oh,
so
you did?
I was Zoom. It was horrible.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an in-person better learner, I feel
Me
like.
too, but I didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
I had no choice.
True.
Yeah.
Because COVID.
Yeah.
That was a crazy time. And then after that, just got my license, and then I, ever since then, I've been a real estate agent. So I started in 2019, I got my license.
That's awesome.
So, it's kind
so
of
right
like
before COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I got it right during COVID, like
Yes.
September of 2020, I went to school.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then just to go back, you mentioned your brother.
Yeah.
So who is your brother? Just so that everyone knows.
Yeah, so my brother has his own podcast, and very successful. They're actually doing really well.
What's the name of it?
The Skinny Podcast. They talk about sports, gambling, Philly, fun stuff,
Awesome.
And he's getting a lot of traction right now, so he's doing
great.
really good.
He's
He
awesome.
actually inspired me to do this because he's like, Monique, nobody knows your personality.
Right.
Like, I'm always hiding behind a camera, or like I take a picture of a house or a walkthrough, but I am never on camera. So he actually inspired me to do this,
I'm
unless
so
I probably
happy.
would have said no.
Right.
But I do want people to learn, my personality a little bit more, and I think it's important for people to know who you're talking to,
Yeah,
not
and
just
this-
a picture of me,
Right.
you know?
And I'm the same way. I can't sit there and video myself,
Yeah.
but when I can sit down and talk to someone
Mm-hmm.
and definitely, relay information this way, I feel more comfortable
Yes.
like this.
Absolutely.
So I just want to thank you again for joining me today. And we're ready to get into
Let's
the
get into
first
it.
time home buying process.
Yes. Let's get into
So
it.
specifically today, we're going to talk about Pennsylvania.
Yes.
So this is all of Philadelphia, the suburbs, all throughout. Obviously, I only focus on the area like close to here, just like you, like
Yeah.
from South Philly, to the suburbs and all that. So step one, when you go to buy a house, is connect with a realtor.
Yes.
Like Monique, like myself, we can help you figure out who's your lender, what you need, if you need more time. But
Yep.
the first step is to definitely connect with a realtor.
Yes.
Have a conversation with them, see if they're a good fit, and then the realtor can also, refer you to a lender.
Yeah.
I like to refer my clients to certain lenders depending on their needs.
Of course.
Not just,
Yeah.
I want to buy a house. Well, are you like
An investor? Do you
Yes.
need a hard money loan? Do
Right.
you need a mortgage?
Do you have a W-2 or a 1099? Because some things are different,
Sure.
And also, people don't understand this, but the pre-approval, we cannot show houses without it.
No.
Because we do not know if you qualify. We do not know
Yes.
what kind of loan. Conventional versus FHA is a big deal.
Absolutely.
If you're looking to buy a condo, you cannot use FHA.
FHA.
You have to go conventional. So these are the things that,
Yeah.
as realtors,
And people don't know this. So that's
Right.
like also like my favorite thing about being a real estate agent is education. Like I love showing a house and then they're like, okay, so like
What's next?
What's next?
Right,
What I have to do?
right.
Like I love being that guide for someone.
Right.
So I think the first step is definitely to find a local expert who knows the neighborhoods,
Right.
who knows or has your best interests. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
yeah, it's true.
mortgage
And-
pre-approval, we could connect you with a lender.
Right,
That's
right.
obviously the first
And
step.
obviously, if you already have a pre-approval, it's not a problem to then connect
Yes.
with a realtor. That's fine too.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Right. And then also, I just want to make a point that we're actually sitting in my sister's Airbnb.
Yes, and it's beautiful.
Thank you. And I actually helped
Love
her
it.
buy it. I helped her throughout the entire process. She is one of the smartest people I know. Like, she's in school right now to be a nurse anesthetist.
Is she really?
Yes, God bless her
That's
soul. She's-
amazing.
Yes, but she did not have a clue.
Right.
And
First time
she-
investor.
Yes, she had no idea, and this is why we're doing this, because we want to just basically give you the A to Z on how to
Yep.
buy your first home. And that's the American dream. So
It is.
we all
And the sooner you do it, the better.
Yes.
Like I bought my first
Don't wait.
house at 26.
good for
Very
you.
proud of it. I bought my grandma's
you.
house, but I will never sell that house. Like
Right.
it's always an investment property. As I get older, it's going to build equity for myself.
Right.
I'm just happy I never rented,
Right.
which that's a whole other topic
Right,
that maybe
right,
we could touch on.
Yes,
'cause
that's another episode.
That is another episode.
And if you're not ready to buy, this is the episode for you, because we're talking about renting.
We good?
How's it going? Do we look good?
No, you're killing it.
Yes.
That's right. Believe me, you'll hear me if I don't
Yeah.
like it.
Okay.
So after you either find your realtor, get your pre-approval, or vice versa,
Yep.
the next step is really honing in on which properties you're interested in. You're on a roll, just so you know. And then I'll chime in.
Yeah, so I think after you connect with one of us or a local expert who you know, I think the next step that's very important is a buyer consultation. So I
Correct.
usually do mine I usually do a 15-minute quick like phone call just so I can introduce myself to them over the phone.
Right.
I do meet them in person at like a local coffee shop or their house, wherever they feel
Right.
comfortable. If not, I also do a Zoom call. And then in that session, I basically go over their criteria, right? Like,
Gotcha.
what are you actually looking for?
Right.
What is it to like a definite deal breaker for you? Do you definitely need central air in your house? Is that a deal breaker?
Right.
Do you need 3 bedrooms because you have a certain amount of kids? You know, like
Right.
what are your absolutes?
Right.
And then this way we can filter out exactly what you want. Then we start your search on the MLS and
Correct.
you know, find
Do
the
you
properties.
use the auto email?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So I kind of base that too specifically on the client.
Yes.
Some people like them, some people don't.
I know.
I actually do use the Homes app
Okay.
because it's just easy to use. I like texting listings.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can like respond to them and
Yes.
just heart them and you stay on the thread. Email, for some reason, it's a little bit harder for me to like retain the information.
Right. So after we have the buyer consult, then I take that criteria and put it on the multiple listing service.
Got it.
I do the auto email, like you said, depending on the client and what their needs are. I just do that because I don't. A property could pop on the market at 12 o'clock at night.
Right.
I might not catch that, you know? So I
Right.
don't want to also miss anything. My favorite thing to do is each week, I do go in their auto email and I CC myself. That's
Right.
a good trick.
Yes, I do
and
that
then
too.
We go in, we pick the listing. Like I'll hand pick some listings that I feel like is
Right.
most of what they're looking for, and then I'll text it to them.
Right.
Hey, did you check out this property? This just popped up.
Right, that's
so
good.
I kind of do both.
Right.
You
that's
know.
good. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously everyone every single day they sit there, they go on Zillow, realtor.com,
Yes.
they're looking. If they're active, if they're really serious, they will probably have a property already
Yes.
in mind. So
Can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Zillow and everything like that.
Oh, God.
It is so much easier to work with one agent.
Right.
Okay, you are going to drive yourself crazy if you feel like you're going to go on Zillow and call every single
Right,
agent.
right.
First of all, with the new rules, I don't know
Right.
if you want to get into that a little bit too.
I think we should, and that's why we're here, because
Yes, we should get into
2024
that.
has definitely
Changed.
Yes, things
Yes.
have changed. So when you do meet the realtor, we are no longer allowed to show you a home unless we have a buyer agency agreement signed.
Yes.
That is a new law. It's been effective since August 17th.
Yeah.
Some people are familiar with it, some people are not, but it is a law. I don't know what police is out there checking.
Yeah, we don't
see.
know yet what's happening, but let's explain it. So
Yes.
basically, now you have to have a buyer agency exclusive agreement, which I love. Me personally, I don't know how you feel. I love it because why would I want somebody to cheat on me with another agent, right?
Like you want to work with someone that wants to work with you.
Exactly, 100%. I also make all my clients feel 100% comfortable. Like
Right.
I do have a disclaimer in there. You can cancel the agreement,
Right.
Mutually, right? Like if I'm going to show you my loyalty and I'm going to go to
Right.
work for you and go to bat for you and
Right.
negotiate, I want you to have the same respect and loyalty with me.
Right.
And I want you to feel comfortable too, 100%.
Right. It's true.
But it's so much easier.
Yeah, but the problem is, there's a lot of questions here, and
Okay, let's get
over the
into it.
weekend, I did show a property, just a single property, to that person because
And that's fine.
we had just met, and it was a
Perfectly
little bit of a
fine.
rush. The next day, the offers were due, so I let them know, hey, when I
Yes.
get there, I do need you to sign something. I didn't have time to go over things because it was such a rush situation. They ended up not putting an offer in because they were just just starting.
Sure.
But I met them. I showed my face. They're aware. So there's so many different things right now. Everything is new. We're all
Yes.
learning.
We're adapting to the
Yes.
new industry, and obviously, I'm 5.5 years into the business now, but I do feel like a lot of things are changing.
It's always changing.
I think it's going to weed out a lot of the agents that aren't like lifetimers, to be honest,
Or not full time.
or not full time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like it's probably going to have that effect on some agents
Right.
as well. But I do think that it's just all about your agent, right? Like if they're educating you on exactly what you're signing and what you're doing.
Right. Full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
That's what we're supposed to do. The law came into place because the seller was unaware that they were paying buyer agent commissions.
Yes. Right. So for the last 100 years,
The way that
or
it's been
longer,
done, right.
The way that it's been done is a seller pays a 5% or a 6% brokerage commission fee
Right.
to their listing agent, and then that listing agent takes that 6 or 5%
And provides some to the buyer's agent.
to a representative representing a buyer, right? Unless you're a dual agent and you're representing both sides.
Right.
So that's always helpful. So I think it depends on how you describe it and how you present it to your seller when you're going on that listing appointment, you know?
It just feels like to me, ever since August 17th, I do feel more comfortable. I'm a very straight up person, and I just tell the buyer, like, this is what's going on. You have to sign something.
Sure.
We have to figure this out. And guess what? You may have to pay some of my commission because it's not guaranteed that the seller is.
Sure.
So that's the biggest thing that has changed.
Yes, and the way that describing it to my clients is it's a part of your closing costs.
Right.
But I don't want to scare them either because a lot of sellers are still paying commission.
Yes.
And nothing has changed.
Right.
Like, I don't want anyone to be scared. Like,
And in
it's gonna be
Pennsylvania,
extra.
Philly, 1000% they are. They're not providing.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
gonna,
for us, the difference is that they're not going to list it into the MLS anymore.
Right.
So now we have to do the extra job,
Of
pick
calling,
up the phone. Hey, Elma,
emailing,
are you paying
texting,
it? Buyer, commission, whatever. So that's like the main thing. But I always say, would you represent yourself in a lawsuit?
Right.
Would you hire an attorney?
Of course you would.
So why wouldn't you want to have an
Exactly.
agent represent you in the biggest purchase of your life?
Right.
Like,
And this is just a little synopsis of what it takes to buy a house. But when you're actually going through it, it's a big deal. It's a big process. We're like best friends with our clients at that time because we're constantly on the phone. We're constantly communicating. And so it's a lot to take in, but I think everything will be okay as
I think so
long
too.
as,
I like the change.
Yeah.
I do because I think it's more strict. I can be completely transparent with my clients.
Right.
And now they know. And don't get me wrong, a lot of investors, we could sign a different agreement, which is basically,
they can use
10 different agents might bring you a good deal. So I'll just do like a non-exclusive.
I believe, yes, exactly. That's different.
Yes.
So with that, once you're looking at the homes and, you've picked a couple homes.
The fun part.
Yes. Most likely there are open houses.
Yes.
So when that happens, the agreement is still in place. You have to let that person know that's in that open house that you have an agent already.
Of course. And what I do is when my buyer attends an open house, I have them sign my name.
Gotcha.
So I have them sign my name so they don't have to bother them with phone calls, bombard them.
Right.
You do have to, respect the person hosting the open house.
Right.
And I just say, sign Monique Perri, my name, email address, and then that agent will reach out to me.
Right.
So it's even easier that way,
Yeah.
But that agreement is still in place, and then you would call your agent, you or me, hey, I'm interested in this house. I want to make an offer. What do we have to do?
Right.
And then you would advise them.
So before I forget, the number one biggest rule when you go to buy a house is what you were doing when you were younger. Do not go out and buy a car.
Yes, that's true.
Unless you want the deal to completely blow up in your face.
Yes.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. There is a financial disclosure, which your mortgage lender should tell you this.
Right.
No big purchases.
But just to reiterate,
no car,
do not open
credit cards, nothing.
The whole deal.
And don't lose your job.
Yes, please don't.
I did experience, not my client specifically, but I know somebody who unfortunately had lost their job the day before settlement.
Oh boy.
And you're not able to settle. So just make sure you're
Everything
for 30
is good.
days you're not spending any money that you
really
shouldn't.
nice to your boss. Make sure you don't get fired. No.
No cars, no furniture, financing, nothing.
You know what I used to send out to people?
What?
The Will Smith slapping.
No, you didn't.
Because I was like, if you do this, you're done. The deal's over. So let's
keep that in mind. Yes.
So now we've gone through showing the homes. That's the exciting part. We set up tours. We're driving out. Every single house is specific, is individual. There's certain factors that will make it be, the house that you want.
Exactly.
Then comes the time to put the offer in.
Yes.
So this is where
the fun part.
Yeah, this is where our expertise comes in, and basically to put an offer in, you need to understand certain terms. It's not just about the actual offer number.
Correct.
There's contingencies like inspections. That is considered a contingency because if something does come up and you're not comfortable with it, you're allowed to walk away. You don't have to purchase the home. There is a time frame with that, and obviously your agent will help you guide through that, but you just want to make sure that you're not over your head.
Of course.
Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I like to have an informational only inspection. I don't like to ask the seller for repairs because in the back of my mind, when you walk in that house that day, you're the owner. If you ask them for a repair, I mean, you don't know if it was done correctly. You know, you're the one that's going to take this over. So I really try to explain that to my clients because... Do
you ask for credit though? Like I guess
yes. If something happens where, you know, the roof needs X amount more than what you were willing, then I will say before, you know, moving forward.
And that's another thing is like inspections is the most important part, right? Like the only time that I would ever advise my client to not get a home inspection would be an investor, right? Because an investor is going to go in, gut the whole entire house. Unless there's structural damage, that's different. If it needs underpinning or anything like that, but
and investors when they walk in, they have the eye. They know what they're looking for.
They know if a house is slanted or sloping. But a first-time home buyer, that is the most important.
Oh, of course.
It also depends on what market you're in, though, too. So if you're buying a house that's super competitive,
did you ever do a walk and talk one?
No.
Did you ever hear that?
No.
So in New Jersey, especially, I don't want to get off topic a little bit, but you could hire an inspector to come with you to see the house, and they go through it. I mean, if you're in a competitive situation, it's definitely an advantage.
So just be prepared before you schedule the showing.
But yes, I mean, I prefer to do it that way. I feel like when I call the listing agent and I place the offer, they can relay that to the seller. Like, we're not going to ask for any major repairs. If something major does come up, though, I will ask for credits.
Yes, I agree.
It just makes life a lot easier for everyone. You know, so that's the way I like to do it.
I agree.
But you know, you have the option to. I did have to one time type up a sheet of all the repairs that my client wanted, and you know, he had to learn the hard way that they said no. It was like, fix the doorknob. I was like, are you sure you want me to do
so on a home inspection, I always tell my clients you want to pay attention to the most important part of the houses, right? The most expensive part, which is the roof, plumbing, electric, HVAC, furnace, stuff like that. So that's the most important. They're not gonna change a doorknob or something like that, you know? So yeah, inspections is super important, especially for first-time home buyers.
Right, so part of when you put an offer in, you have the sale price. If you need a seller concession, that's basically a credit towards your closing cost. And then obviously the inspection and settlement date is also important as well. So these are all the different things that we have to go over with you when we're placing the offer. So as part of putting an offer in, also understanding your loan is pretty important too.
Very important.
Like I mentioned earlier, conventional is completely different from FHA. FHA will require certain repairs that the seller must do before closing. So these are things like railings, like, you know, painting on the outside, like certain things that have to be done. And conventional, you can purchase a condo with, like I said. But then part of the process is, you know, everyone thinks you have to put 20% down.
Yes, so I feel like that is my number one question that I get. My nail girl, shout out to you, actually just asked me as I was getting my nails done like 2 days ago. She's like, Monique, how much money do I have to put down? I heard 20%. I'm like, who told you that?
Right.
You only have to put 15 to 25% down, let's just say, if you are an investor, right? If it's not have to, but I'm just saying, you know, that's more realistic for that scenario. If you're a first-time home buyer, you probably only have to put 3 to 3.5% down.
Right.
A part of that, though, that I want to go over is that your 3% down of the purchase price, that's how you could calculate it on your phone, literally. Like, just take the, you know, an example of a $400,000 house. 3% of that is your down payment. But people don't know this. That is not including your closing costs.
Correct.
So your closing costs are on top of your down payment. So your 3% is your down payment. And then you have your closing costs on top of that, which is like transfer tax, fees, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just something,
insurance, yes.
So that's just something to keep in mind. I would say probably like you can like estimate it to like 5% total or 6%.
5 to 6. Yep.
So for a first-time home buyer, if you are interested in doing like quick calculations, you can take about 5.5 to 6% of the purchase price, and that's how you can kind of come up with your closing costs plus including your down payment, just to give you a better idea of what you need to put down to the settlement table.
And then if you are getting a seller's assist, which I do,
my favorite thing ever that nobody talks about.
Oh, I do it all the time.
Me too.
First time home
almost every deal is a seller assist.
I did it when I first bought a home. A seller's assist helps you cover the closing costs, but the seller's paying it off the top, like the purchase price.
I bought my house with $11,000 down.
There you go.
seller assist.
Right.
You know, I wrote my own deal. I really was, making sure that it was perfect. But seller assist, for anyone that doesn't know, is basically the seller is allowing you to finance a portion of your closing costs.
Right.
So you could keep money in your pocket. Like you don't need
to use your entire savings.
Because
you shouldn't, because you're about to buy a house.
Yeah.
You have to furnish it. You have to make sure you have money to do any repairs that you want to do or any updating that you want to do. So I always use this. Now for conventional, you can only do 3%. And for FHA, you can only do up to 6% of the purchase price. So that's where it differs as well. But I use that all the time.
It's such a good tool. It really is, because then it allows you to save money out of your pocket.
Right.
You know, you could do other things with that money.
Right. So then as you're doing this process, everything goes well with the inspections, you're moving on, you're excited, then the lender comes in and does an appraisal.
Yep.
So an appraisal is the value that the mortgage company gives to the home that you're buying. The mortgage company is not allowed to lend you any more than what they value the home to be.
Yes.
Unfortunately, recently I had to terminate a deal because the appraisal came back super low and my client did not have the funds to
go up. Yeah. So
it.
In that scenario, it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened to me in a long time, but you have to just prepare your client, and then worst case scenario is your buyer has to come up with the funds.
Right.
Or the seller is nice enough to come down, or you meet somewhere in the middle.
Right, and which has happened before, but yes. So the area that we were looking at is a hot market. It's like the Delco area. Okay. So the sellers were just like, we'll give you your deposit back, and we're just going to put it back on the market. So I wish them well, but it happens. So then after the appraisal process, then you're going to have to pick a homeowner's insurance.
Yes.
That's what's really important, because obviously you need to make sure that your home is insured by settlement date.
Yes, of course.
And that's also part of your monthly mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize that either.
Yeah, you don't have to pay it up front.
Right. And also, when I go to put an offer in on a house, before I do, I actually make the lender send out to my clients the full closing cost with whatever seller's assist is in there, and then the monthly payment. I make sure that they're comfortable. I don't want any surprises after.
Yes.
I want to make sure, yes, you're putting down this much and you're going to be paying this much per month. And in that estimate, they do have the homeowners in there.
Yeah, and you could also estimate it.
Right.
I even leave a little cushion to go over a little bit, because I'd rather somebody expect a higher payment than a lower payment, and then you get a higher payment after settlement. Right. So I always leave a little cushion.
Right. So the things that are, that stay steady with the mortgage is your principal and interest, but then the homeowners is what's paid monthly and taxes. So that's where also I've had that conversation, I'm sure you've had too, where if the taxes are $15,000 and we've been looking at $8,000, not going to work.
Exactly.
So that's why it's important to have your pre-approval, know what you can afford.
They will cap you at a certain amount of taxes.
Yes, I always ask that too.
Yeah, they will.
Because it's important. You don't want to go into an area and be like, oh my God, you can't afford this because of the taxes.
It is so important. The pre-approval, I know we talked about that in the beginning, but it is really so important to have.
And we're not doing it to be a pain in the
No, I'm not doing it exactly. We're not. I just you want to make sure that you're comfortable. I want to make sure that you're comfortable as a buyer. I don't want to show you a huge, house and you're just not comfortable with that.
And just like when you go buy a car, you give your social and they make sure that you can buy it. This is the same exact thing.
I agree. So that's so important. Just get your pre-approval.
Yes.
And then we can have fun and then go look at all the houses that are right in your budget and you feel comfortable.
Right. And then, so now we've gone through all that. You know what your monthly payment is. You're about to close. So before we go to settlement, there's something called a walkthrough. And that's where we actually go back into the house, right in your settlement. I usually try to do it the day before, sometimes morning of, but sometimes that can get a little hairy. But this is your last time seeing the home before going to the settlement table.
Yeah, so I try to do my final walkthrough about 2 to 3 days prior.
Oh, okay.
It depends though. I just had a walkthrough last week and I did do it the day of.
Okay.
Just because I knew that they were doing some work and it was empty when I showed the property. I will say this, if the house is furnished and then you do your final walkthrough and the seller by that point has taken all the furniture out, you want to do your final walkthrough to make sure they're not covering any holes in the wall you know, anything like that, which could be covered up by furniture.
Right.
So that's important. I would say that to do it before, you know, I would say to do that before, just in case.
It's a big difference when you walk through a house and it's empty.
For sure.
Versus when it was
It is before when it's furnished.
Yes. And then obviously the day of, you have to make sure you bring all your necessary documents, your ID. Please come with the check.
Yes.
Or, you know, wire.
Certified funds.
Yes. We have to make sure that all that's good to go.
Yeah.
And then, I mean.
To make sure you are you.
Yes.
Settlement day is the most exciting.
Yes.
You are a homeowner at that point. I love giving away my settlement gifts. That's like my favorite part.
Me too. And guess what? I love making baskets.
Me too.
I can't shop at Home Goods for anything else in my house, but I enjoy going for a client.
Me too.
It's my favorite part.
Me too. I pick all of my favorite things out, make a nice little basket. And that's the exciting part. Like you're giving somebody the keys for something that they work so hard for.
Right.
It's just very rewarding to be a part of that.
And the first time home buyers.
That's my favorite.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It's like the best feeling. It's the American dream. So, alrighty. So let's run through it again. Steps are connect with a local realtor.
Got it.
Get a pre-approval.
What do I do next?
Next, you have to basically get your home search. Send us the properties that you're interested in. Attend open houses. Making the offer, understanding the terms of your loan. Next, the home inspection.
Yep.
As we said. Then waiting on the appraisal. Hopefully it comes to value.
Yep.
And then finally getting your mortgage fully approved. So finally getting your mortgage fully approved. Homeowners insurance as well. And then obviously the final walkthrough. So those are all the steps.
Exciting part.
Yes, and settlement day.
Yep.
Celebrate.
Exactly. You'll be celebrating for a while.
Yes. Special thanks to the Skinny Podcast. We appreciate your support. This episode is brought to you by the Skinny Coffee, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm Puerto Rican. I like a strong coffee, and this is really good.
Isn't it the best?
Really good.
It's smooth too. Sorry, we'll be wired after this episode.
Yes, we've been drinking it for the past 2 hours.
Yeah, literally.
This is the first time home buyer guide. We just did it from soup to nuts, basically. Yep. You should know what
you should know how to buy a house now.
Yes.
Now you should be professional.
Yes.
Now you have to call us to help you buy a house.
Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I had so much fun.
Our first episode together, but there will be much more.
There will be more. I will be back.
Yes.
So don't miss me too much.
And this is our first time home buyer guide for PA. And we will...
We will see you later.
Okay.
See you later.
So this was our first time home buyer guide for PA. And if you want, if you want to pee yourself, no.
Reach out if you have any questions.
Yes, let us know.
We'd be
please.
happy to help you.
Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Subscribe.
Elm Street Podcast.
Yes. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me. I mean, no. Thank you so much for being here, our first episode together.
Yes, I think it went very well. We
Yes.
hope we educated you guys. I enjoyed being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. You're going to see Monique a lot more. She will be a recurring guest on Elm Street Podcast.
I will be back.
And if you need her information, we will have it in the show notes, as well as the guide bullet points to what you just learned today. You will find her socials, how to contact her, as well as my information. And if you liked what you saw today, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And this is our episode of Elm Street, the guide to buying a home in PA.
Episode 1, done.
Yes.
That was amazing. I can see you're all warmed up. Just let's run it back to have some taste. Well, that was good. We got one.
I didn't know what to do.
No, you did great.
Perfect.
You did great.